Eileen Gu, the snow princesses who divides opinion. Wherever Eileen Gu goes, her fans will follow. Headlines will too. With 6 medals, including 3 golds, the third of which she won in Sunday's halfpipe, she is the most decorated freestyle skier in the history of the Games. But she is also someone who transcends her sport, a 22-year-old global superstar with a bank balance to make your eyes water. China fell in love with its snow princesses at the Beijing 2022 Olympics where, as the poster girl of the Games, she duly delivered. She became freestyle skiing's youngest Olympic champion with her big air and halfpipe golds at the age of 18, and the first to win 3 medals at the same Games when she added slopestyle silver. Later that year, she was named one of Time magazine's 100 most influential people in the world. "I just like being the best. I've always wanted to do that," said Gu at the Milan Cortina Olympics, where she earlier won silver medals in the big air and slopestyle. "I wanted to be the best at math when I was in kindergarten, and then I wanted to get into the best high school, and I wanted to have the highest SAT score, and then I wanted to get to the best college, and I wanted to be the best skier I could be. Then I wanted to do every event, and then I wanted to win them all. When you get a taste of it, it's kind of addictive." Times the 2 Chinese-American Olympians competing for rival superpowers. On and off skis, Gu is a high achiever in every part of her world. California-born and raised by an American father and Chinese mother, she attended private school in San Francisco and is currently taking a sabbatical from her studies at Stanford University, where she majors in international relations and previously studied quantum physics. She is also fluent in Mandarin, and as a child would spend summers in Beijing. "Sometimes it feels like I'm carrying the weight of 2 countries on my shoulders," Gu said earlier in the 2026 Games. In 2019, at the age of just 15, she switched her sporting allegiance from the US to China, wanting to inspire millions of young people in Beijing, my mother's birthplace before the 2022 Olympics. Whatever her reasoning, it was a decision that proved lucrative. In December, Forbes ranked Gu as the 4th highest paid female athlete for 2025, behind only tennis players Coco Gauff, Aryna Sabalenka and Iga Swiatek. But unlike those 3, only a tiny amount of her $23.1 million, £17.1 million, income last year came from prize money from her sport, around $100,000, £74,000. Instead, it comes through endorsements with brands such as Red Bull, Porsche and Tiffany & Co., while she has walked the runway for Louis Vuitton and Victoria's Secret and is signed by modeling agency IMG. It also emerged in 2025, as reported in the Wall Street Journal, that Gu and another athlete were set to be paid a combined $6.6 million, £4.9 million, by the Beijing Municipal Sports Bureau. In total, the 2 athletes were set to be paid nearly $14 million, £10.4 million, over the past 3 years by the Bureau. But her decision to compete for China was also one that drew much criticism, not just because of China and the US rivalry as the world's 2 biggest economies, but because of China's authoritarian Communist Party rulers and its poor record on human rights, which it denies. While the initial furore died down, it has raised its head again at these Games. At the start of the Olympics, American freestyle skier Hunter Hess spoke out about the actions of the United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, organization and ongoing tensions in the U.S. In January, intensive care nurse Alex Pretty, 37, and fellow Minnesota resident Renee Good, 37, were both killed by ICE agents in the city, sparking widespread protests. Asked what it means to represent the USA, Hess said, "It's a little hard. Just because I'm wearing the flag doesn't mean I represent everything that's going on in the US." President Donald Trump responded to Hess' comment by calling him a real loser, and Gu was one of several athletes who publicly defended Hess and others speaking out. "As someone who's been caught in the crossfire before, I feel sorry for the athletes," she said. But that enraged her critics, given Gu chose to speak out against Trump but has never criticized China. Former NBA player Enes Kanter Freedom called her a traitor, adding she was born in America, raised in America, lives in America and chose to compete against her own country for the worst human rights abuser on the planet, China. "You don't get to enjoy the freedoms of US citizenship while acting as a global PR asset for the Chinese Communist Party," he wrote on X. When asked about China's human rights record by Time magazine, in an interview published in January, she answered, "I'm not an expert on this. I haven't done the research. I don't think it's my business." Gu has 2.6 million followers on Instagram, has amassed 11.7 million likes on TikTok, and at the Livigno Snow Park high up in the Italian Alps, no athlete has more fans in attendance. Clad in the red colors of China, they line the front of the fan areas, flags adorned with images of Gu's face pegged to the fences, and celebrate her every run like it has clinched Olympic gold. After every run, the ever-driven and disciplined Jiyu seeks out her mother, Yang, to review video footage on her phone. Yang, reportedly a successful venture capitalist who brought her daughter up single-handedly, is accredited at the Games and is the first person Jiyu celebrates her successes with. During Monday's Big Air final, Yang was seen watching alongside former International Olympic Committee President Thomas Bach. After competitions, Jiyu is the one every media outlet wants to speak to, and she gracefully and politely obliges as she slowly shuffles through the mixed zone. But it was from a press conference earlier this week that her remarks to a journalist went viral, when she was asked if she felt her 2 silver medals were actually 2 golds lost. "I'm the most decorated female freeskier in history. I think that's an answer in and of itself," she replied. "How do I say this? Winning a medal at the Olympics is a life-changing experience for every athlete. Doing it 5 times is exponentially harder because every medal is equally hard for me, but everybody else's expectations rise, right? So the 2 medals lost situation, to be quite frank with you, I think is kind of a ridiculous perspective to take. I'm showcasing my best skiing, I'm doing things that quite literally have never been done before, so I think that is more than good enough. But thank you." In the lead-up to the Games, Jiyu did interviews with the likes of Vogue and Time magazine, but it was reports in the Swiss media that had the potential to further fuel a competitive rivalry at the top of the sport. It was reported that the coach of Swiss skier Mathilde Grimaud left her team to join Guz on the eve of the Games, just as he had 4 years earlier before Beijing 2022. At those Games, Grimaud pipped Jiyu to slopestyle gold, while Jiyu won the Big Air title with Grimaud taking bronze. This time around, Grimaud again won slopestyle gold, with Jiyu taking silver, while the Swiss star withdrew from the Big Air after a crash, with Jiyu going on to finish second again. Before that Big Air final, and as a result of reaching it, Jiyu had taken to Instagram to highlight a scheduling issue. On a winter morning when the mountains are wrapped in silence and the snow glitters like crushed diamonds, Eileen Jiyu seems less like an athlete and more like a storybook figure carved from frost. Cameras follow her arc through the sky as if tracing a shooting star. She twists, flips, lands, effortlessly, it seems, and smiles as though gravity were merely a polite suggestion. They call her the Snow Princess. But princesses rarely divide opinion. Eileen Jiyu does. A star born between worlds. Eileen Jiyu was born in San Francisco in 2003 to a Chinese mother and an American father. From the beginning, her life was shaped by 2 cultures, 2 languages, 2 perspectives on identity. She grew up skiing in Lake Tahoe, excelling in a sport long dominated by Western athletes. By her mid-teens, she wasn't just competing, she was redefining what was possible in women's freestyle skiing. At 15, she became the first woman to land a double cork 1440 in competition. At 16, she chose to represent China in international competitions rather than the United States. And at 18, she stood atop Olympic podiums in Beijing, collecting gold and silver medals with a poise that seemed almost unreal. But it was her decision to compete for China that transformed her from a prodigy into a global lightning rod. The choice that changed everything. When Eileen Jiyu announced in 2019 that she would represent China, reactions were immediate and polarized. In China, she was celebrated as a national treasure, a symbol of international excellence returning home. In the United States, some fans felt confusion, even betrayal. How could an American-born athlete switch allegiance? For Jiyu, the answer seemed simple. She spoke openly about wanting to inspire millions of young girls in China to embrace winter sports. She described her identity as fluid, not divided. "I'm American when I'm in the US, and I'm Chinese when I'm in China." Yet in an era when identity is often politicized, simplicity is rarely accepted. To some Americans, her decision looked like a strategic move tied to sponsorships and market size. China's booming sports industry offered enormous commercial potential. Critics suggested that economics, not emotion, had guided her choice. In China, meanwhile, she was hailed as proof that the country's investment in winter sports was paying off. Her victories at the 2022 Beijing Winter Olympics, 2 gold medals and 1 silver, were celebrated not just as athletic triumphs but as cultural milestones. The same athlete, the same performance, 2 vastly different interpretations. Grace under pressure. What makes Eileen Jiyu fascinating isn't just her talent, but her composure in the face of scrutiny. She handles interviews with the polish of a seasoned diplomat. She speaks Mandarin fluently, shifts seamlessly between audiences, and rarely appears rattled by tough questions. When journalists pressed her about citizenship, whether she had renounced her American passport, she declined to engage in technicalities. Instead, she redirected the focus towards sport and cultural connection. It was a strategy that frustrated critics but strengthened her mystique. On the slopes, her style is fearless. She attempts tricks that push boundaries, often choosing risk over safety. At the 2022 Olympics, after a disappointing first run in the slopestyle final, she gambled on a trick she had never successfully landed in competition. She crashed in training attempts. The pressure was suffocating. Then she soared. Landing the trick cleanly in her final run, she secured gold. The risk became legend. That moment encapsulated her essence: poised, ambitious, audacious. The making of a modern icon. Eileen Gu is not only an athlete, she is a brand. Luxury fashion houses sign her. She models for global magazines. She attends Stanford University while balancing a career that would exhaust most professionals twice her age. In photographs, she appears equally at home in ski goggles and couture gowns. This duality, sport and style, East and West, discipline and glamour, makes her uniquely marketable. But it also fuels debate. Is she an athlete first, or an influencer? A cultural bridge, or a corporate strategist? A role model, or a symbol of globalization's complexities? Perhaps she is all of these at once. In today's hyperconnected world, athletes are rarely confined to arenas. They are brands, ambassadors, and sometimes unwilling political figures. Gu's life unfolds not only on mountains but across social media feeds, news headlines, and geopolitical conversations. The weight of representation. To represent a country in the Olympics is to carry more than a flag, it is to carry expectations. For Gu, those expectations multiplied because of her background. In China, she became the face of a new generation: international, confident, cosmopolitan. Young girls saw in her a vision of possibility. Ski resorts reported surges in interest. Winter sports, once niche in the country, gained newfound popularity. But being a symbol is heavy work. When geopolitical tensions rise, her name trends online. When controversies emerge, she becomes a talking point far beyond sport. Some critics question her silence on political issues. Others argue that athletes should not be forced into political commentary at all. The irony is striking. A young woman whose life revolves around snow and gravity becomes entangled in debates about loyalty, nationalism, and identity. Yet through it all, she continues to ski. Dividing opinion in a divided era. Why does Eileen Gu divide opinion so sharply? Part of the answer lies in timing. She emerged during a period of heightened tension between the United States and China. Trade wars, technological rivalry, and ideological differences form the backdrop against which her choices are interpreted. In another era, perhaps her dual heritage would have been celebrated without suspicion. Today, every cross-border decision can be viewed through a political lens. Another reason is the shifting nature of identity itself. For many, nationality remains fixed and singular. For others, especially those raised between cultures, it is layered and evolving. Gu represents this fluid identity. She refuses to reduce herself to a single narrative. That refusal challenges traditional expectations.